open house visitor non-agency agreement disclosure and sign it. Not in the, what do you call those words? Not in the acronym. Yeah, not all those letters are in the acronym. Hey everyone, agents have been asking me to explain the new open house process post-NAR settlement and all the new forms. So let's get into it. For those of you guys who don't know me, I am the CEO of Nest Real Estate. I have been doing a lot of car certified trainings on this. I'm gonna explain this to the best of my abilities and make it as easy as possible for you guys. What does an OHNA form entail? First things first, this is not a representation agreement. This is just simply acknowledging that the agent at the open house is acting on behalf of the seller and is not representing the buyer, which means that if you get this thing signed, it does not guarantee any payment. Also on the form, the visitor can identify if they are working with another agent, so the listing agent will know who to contact about future discussions if the visitor has an interest in that property and maybe wants to submit an offer. Also a great opportunity for you to ask if they're working with an agent, so maybe you get the transaction. Can a listing agent hold an open house after the NAR settlement? Yes. Can another agent in the same brokerage as the listing agent hold an open house for the listing agent? Yes. Is an agent holding an open house required to have every visitor who enters the open house sign a registration or BRBC? Short answer is no, it's not legally binding, but best practice is to ask the visitor to sign in using the OHNA. And then for us on our team, definitely put them on the YLOPA open house digital sign-in. That way you get them uploaded to FUB. You are not required to have them sign a BRBC or PSRA, which are the two forms of representation, unless they want to submit an offer and are not currently working with another agent in an exclusive agreement. And we'll talk about those differences, I'm sure. What are the rules for a visitor without an agent? Visitors can tour properties on their own without an agent, and the agent hosting the open house would allow them right through. Formality would basically be to have them sign in using the OHNA. I would also, like I said, use that open house YLOPO tool just to get them signed in digitally. Here's what you need to know. If visitors have questions, technically you only need to answer what's on the listing details. I don't know how I feel about this just yet. I think on the one hand, limiting the information is a good opportunity for you to create a more formal representation agreement. On the other hand, is it the best way to service a visitor that's entering the open house? It may make them shy away from talking to you. The way I think about it is open houses are a fact-finding lead generation mission for you as the host of the open house. So if you're showing, take the opportunity to inform them about the settlement and basically all the things that the buyer should expect on their home buying journey. You can also enter a short-term or long-term agreement. So the PSRA is a short-term agreement. We'll talk about that in another video, but use the PSRA to enter a 3-property, 30-day max short-term agreement, or the BRBC to enter a long-term exclusive agreement. What are the rules for showing with an agent? Well, it states in the NAR settlement agreement, all MLS participants working with a buyer must enter a written agreement before the buyer tours any home with an agent. So you gotta make sure that you have that signed before you start going on these home tours. However, a visitor can still tour properties on their own. So if you're hosting an open house, take the time to ask if they are working with an agent, just like we normally do, and have them write the agent's contact information on the OHNA form. That way you can use it for your follow-up at a later time. It would also be good to ask the visitor if they have a short-term or long-term agreement so that you can see if they are exclusive with an agent. And if not, there is an opportunity for you to get a deal from this by explaining the representation agreements to them. What is the difference between exclusive versus non-exclusive? This is crucial to know the difference on, and there is a spot on the BRBC to check this. However, on the PSRA, it's only non-exclusive. So pay attention. Exclusive means that the buyer is required to provide compensation to the buyer's agent for representation on any property. And in return, the buyer's agent is going to provide the services that we all are used to. In non-exclusive, a buyer is only required to pay the buyer's agent if there was agent broker involvement with the property, which means that if you have a buyer who signed the PSRA and they go into a home without you, the host of the open house can technically go into a PSRA short-term agreement and submit an offer and get compensation for it, and you would not get any compensation because you were not in an exclusive agreement. Again, this is why it's important to pay attention. You want to have an exclusive agreement. If you can get that part signed, that's going to be the better way. Can an agent holding an open house represent a visitor as their buyer's agent? Yes. They must enter into a short form agreement, which is the PSRA, or a long form agreement, which is the BRBC. What do I do if a visitor touring the home is interested in submitting an offer and is not represented? So if a visitor is touring the home, they're interested in submitting an offer, the first thing that you need to do is take them through a buyer consult and explain to them the representation of short-term, long-term, what it's going to entail for them hiring you for representation. You've got to explain that before having them sign. They are going to be required to pay you at the end. And if there's confusion because you didn't do a buyer consult, you're going to be in trouble because there is no commission on the other end of this contract unless it's signed. Once you finish that buyer consult, you got to make sure that you're signing the BRBC because they are ready to go and submit an offer and work with you. So just skip to the BRBC, check exclusive, and make sure that it's also initialed on page 5, paragraph 15. There's a big fat box that you will see there on the BRBC agreement. You need to make sure that you're able to have that signed so that you get paid. So very important when you're filling out this contract that you have the both parts signed, not just the one in the front, page 1. What is your advice for implementing this form? This form is useful for 2 important reasons that I like to use, which is discovery and protection. So for discovery, you're using this form to help you discover if they're already working with an agent and you're getting their contact information on that form. For protection, this is going to help you mitigate commission disputes because you're going to have everything in writing. One thing to pay attention to on the OHNA is paragraph 6, the protection clause, which says no intention of solicitation with the attendee if under exclusive representation with another agent. AKA, this means you should be educating and encouraging your buyers to sign this form as a form of protection for you, the buyer's agent, and against the host of the open house who's likely trying to generate their own leads. So another great thing about this is that you can alleviate that pushback of signing in for the first time, or if they say they have a realtor already, you're able to alleviate some of the resistance to this form. So it's definitely a good tool to use because you're able to basically explain what's going on legally. What are your thoughts on the benefits of this form? I think this form adds more structure and formality to the open house process, which means over time, we're probably going to start seeing less time wasters and better quality sign-ins because those touring the home have to jump through a few extra hoops and formalities to view the properties. And in short, your buyers need to be under an exclusive representation agreement before touring homes, because if they're not, there's a chance you can be out of commission if someone signs that representation agreement at the open house. Can you explain your open house question tree? Yes. First things first, you're going to want a booth set up with a laptop and the sign-in form outside ready to go, and you're going to welcome them to sign in. Create a little bit of a barrier in between them entering the home. That way you can definitely guarantee that you're getting this thing signed. If they're there without an agent, and if they do not want to sign, this is your opportunity to explain to them the formality of this process and the NAR settlement, everything that's going on, and explain to them that this is going to help them be better served and protected. If a visitor comes with an agent, that's easy. Just collect the agent's business cards so that you can contact them in your follow-up. After signing in, now it's time to let them tour. Suggest some key features for them to keep an eye out for. I call this a treasure hunt. It's perfect for talking points on their way out, which, by the way, before the buyer leaves on their way out, ask them if they have any questions about the property and start opening up this conversation. Ask them if anyone has explained the home shopping process, explain to them the benefits of them being represented, and also explain to them the 3 ways they can be represented when submitting an offer on a house they like: the short-term PSRA, the long-term BRBC, or dual agency. And last but not least, you want to explain the benefits of a buyer consult before continuing their home shopping journey. Schedule that appointment right then and there. If not, host your quick buyer consult on the spot. You should be ready for that. All right, it looks like that's all the questions. So my goal is for you to have absolute confidence in these new contracts. For more info, role-play scripts, printable client resources, and more, check out our NAR settlement resource link. See you on the next one.